Hi, and welcome to TYT Interviews. I'm Wes Clark Jr., and tonight we're going to be talking with Colorado State Rep Joe Salazar from Colorado District 31. Joe, are you with us?
I'm here. How are you?
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Just sitting here in this Colorado weather. We got a little bit of a rainstorm going on, but it's beautiful.
That happens almost every afternoon out in Colorado, doesn't it?
Pretty much it's clockwork.
Yeah, I should preface this with I actually spent a lot of my time growing up in Colorado. So I know.
Oh yeah, whereabouts?
Well, the part of the state where they think the Earth is only 6,000 years old, Colorado Springs.
Okay, we're right on.
It's a little different than Denver. Now, your district is part of Denver, right? Just north?
I'm about 11, 12 miles north of Denver.
And you're one of the few state reps and one of the first to be endorsed by Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, that's right. He came out here for our annual state banquet, Colorado Democratic State Banquet, and he met with me personally, and he said, "Hey, man, I really need your help." And I said, "You got it."
What do you think attracted Bernie to your campaign?
Well, you know, everybody knows here in the state of Colorado that I'm extremely progressive. I don't apologize for it either. I move very hard on a lot of my bills. I move on oil and gas and big, you know, the big corporations. I'm not afraid of them. And so he definitely caught word of that, and that's why he wanted to schedule a meeting.
Yeah, no, going over your legislative background and looking at, you know, you're a civil rights attorney as well as a equal opportunity employment attorney, and you passed Freedom of Information Act issues in Colorado, and you want to pass a law that allow people to sue oil companies and gas companies for fracking if it causes earthquakes and damage.
Yeah, that's right. I have some big stuff going on this coming session too, in terms of going after the discretionary power of prosecutors. You know, in order to really make changes in the criminal justice system. It's not just all about the police. You have to take a look at the power of prosecutors as well as the power of the courts, and that's why we went after debtors' prisons. They were trying to establish them here in the state of Colorado, and we got rid of them before they could really do too much damage.
Did they actually get them up and running first?
The debtors' prisons?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had, particularly in Colorado Springs, we had debtors' prisons happening down there, also in the city of Aurora. We found out about it through the ACLU, and they said, Representative Salazar, can you bring a bill to get rid of debtors' prisons in the state of Colorado? And I said, well, they shouldn't even exist. The state of Colorado, the Colorado Supreme Court, as well as the United States Supreme Court, said that they're unconstitutional, and they said they do exist. So we brought the bill to make sure that we got rid of them for good here in the state.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm not that surprised. Colorado Springs was the first city pushing for debtors' prisons in Colorado.
Right.
To get into something like a little maybe more controversial, you want to change Columbus Day and make it Indigenous Peoples Day, correct?
Yeah, I sat down with the American Indian community here, not just in the Denver metro area, but statewide. And they said, we think that now is the time to act. We just recognized the 150th anniversary of the Sand Creek Massacre, and we think now is the time. I said, let's go for it. And so I brought that bill this past session. Got death threats because of it, but it seems like anything that I do for the American Indian community results in death threats. And we brought that bill, and it died in committee.
Now, the tribes in Colorado, I went to school with some Navajo when I lived out there. The Navajo, what tribes are located there?
Okay, so we actually have two tribes in the state, which is Southern Ute and Ute Mountain Ute. Mm-hmm. The Navajo border our state in the southwestern area, as well as the Apache. But those are the only two tribes that we have here.
And just to get on to some of these identity issues, just because growing up in Colorado Springs, and I've seen the kind of population expansion that Colorado's been through in the last 20 years, which is frankly unbelievable, how much the state's grown population-wise. But I felt like in the 1980s when I lived out there that a lot of the incoming population were white Christian Californians who didn't want to live around minorities, and they moved to Colorado in the 1980s and early 1990s. And I saw Colorado Springs become a really conservative city during that time when it really wasn't that much of one before. Are these issues as strong in Denver and as kind of incendiary in Denver as they felt in Colorado Springs?
You know, it's amazing to me how certain areas of the state are as conservative as they are. You know, I think that maybe one reason to explain Colorado Springs is because of the military bases down there. Uh, but outside of that, I don't know why it's as conservative as it is. I mean, we have Focus on the Family that's located there. It's very right wing conservative Christian organization. But yeah, I mean, people definitely have found their communities in certain areas, like Douglas County, just a little bit north of Colorado Springs, in the Castle Rock area. Extremely conservative.
Yeah, no, that area was always kind of conservative back then. Now, do you, when you get elected, and I'm guessing you're going to get elected this fall, though your last election was you won by 500, 1,000 votes?
221 votes.
221. So it's tight. So you need every bit of support you can get out there online.
Everything I can get. Oil and gas are coming after me. They've made it known quite well that they're coming after me. They're going to put just massive amounts of resources. And now that we have initiatives 75 and 78, the anti-fracking initiatives, they went down today. They're not going to be on the ballot. Well, oil and gas is $13.5 million that they saved up to battle those initiatives. Now that they're no longer there, I'm sure that I'm going to be a focus of theirs.
And when we're talking about fracking in Colorado, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Colorado seems to always be involved in a fight for fresh water. Am I crazy in assuming that the state has actual water shortages?
Yeah, no, we have water shortages, but what they're doing is they're going across the state. And what I mean by oil and gas companies are going across the state and buying up the water rights.
Oh, really?
Yep.
And what can be done at the state level to stop that?
Not much, because a water right is a property right. And if a farmer or a rancher wants to sell that property right, then they can certainly do that. I mean, that's a really tough battle.
So if I'm an oil and gas company, I can go into Colorado, I can buy a big patch of land, I get the water rights, I can frack, and I can waste that water on the fracking and pollute the water table?
Pretty much, that's about right.
Wow. And are there any other reps in Colorado that are going to try and put a stop to this?
Yeah, so we have a handful of representatives here who aren't afraid to take on oil and gas. We have Mike Foote, who's just to the west of me in Boulder in the Lafayette area, who brought the local control bill and also the setback bill. He brought a bill a couple of years back to increase the fines, which hadn't increased in, God, I couldn't even tell you how long it was. But he brought that bill. We have Representative Jonathan Singer out of Longmont, who also is a really good fighter on these issues. And we have Casey Becker, Faith Winter, who used to work with the Conservation Colorado here in the state. So we have a good core group of individuals to work on these issues.
Joe, could you tell me a little bit about who you're running against and what the stakes are if you lose in your district?
Sure. So we hold the majority by 2 seats. And they targeted me pretty heavily last time around. I won by 221. But basically, if they get control of the House, right now they have control of the Senate. Although we have a Democratic governor, as we know, John Hickenlooper is a friend of oil and gas. So if they get control of the House and control of the Senate, they could do an awful lot to damage the state of Colorado, not only in terms of oil and gas issues, but also in terms of women's reproductive rights and civil rights and, oh God, voting rights. I mean, the list goes on. And I wouldn't want to leave it up to the governor alone to try to stop those initiatives that the Republicans would put forth if they actually controlled both the House and the Senate.
Yeah, no, they come up with the crazy stuff. I mean, really, in my opinion, a lot of the anti-gay legislative movements in the country started in Colorado Springs in the mid-'90s with Amendment 2.
You're absolutely right. And, you're asking me about my opponent. Well, that's a good question. My opponent is really incognito here in the district. Republicans don't even know much about her. I don't know anything about her stances. When constituents go and talk to her, she turns their back on them. I mean, we actually have footage of constituents wanting to talk to her, and she will just walk away. So she's an anomaly. I really don't know what she stands for.
All I really know is online it says that she's into changing education which is always kind of, to me, a watchword for I'm going to destroy the public school system. And simply that she's a blonde white woman. That's all I really know.
Yeah, that's about as much as I know too. I know that she says that she was an at-risk youth when she grew up. That she was in a I don't know. She was in some kind of at-risk youth school. I mean, we don't even know what that was. And that sorry, I'm just trying to get the door closed.
Sure, no worries.
And she was a teacher. I really don't know where she was a teacher, but I do know that it was a charter school. So that's about pretty much all I know.
So she's pretty much ideologically the polar opposite of you.
Yeah, pretty much. If she actually wins in this House seat, she is going to do exactly what Republicans want her to do, and that's pretty much just ruin the world. But she will not have any ability to think on her own. I watch what they do to their more moderate Republicans on the House floor. It's you walk lockstep with their agenda, or they will punish you publicly, and I've seen that happen. So we know that if she actually gets hold of this House seat, that it's basically going to be what the Republicans want her to do.
Wow. Now, going into like the future in Colorado and running against this woman, how has your district changed in the last 6 to 8 years, identity-wise? Because when I left the state, it was just starting to see, mass migration coming in from other parts of the country, as well as a real expansion of Latinos in the state. Are neighborhoods changing and districts changing still? And how does this affect the race?
Yeah, so once again, the technology, I kind of missed some of that. But I'll tell you one thing about myself. And I missed part of your question, but let me tell you a little bit about myself. Is that, I never ran for election to constantly think about being reelected. That was never my goal. I have freed myself of that burden of always thinking that I need to sit in my House seat and I'll compromise myself in order to continuously be reelected. I've relieved myself of that burden. My whole focus is actually to fight for people. Regardless of the consequence, if I'm reelected or not, I'm going to fight for people. And that's why I'm unapologetic about it. And that's why I have so many people in the state of Colorado who come and they walk for me in my district. Bernie's support resulted in a huge amount of donations from all across the nation. And so, if I get reelected again, I'm still going to go with that same philosophy that it's about the people, always first.
What does Bernie Sanders' political revolution mean to you in how you're going to actualize it yourself?
Well, I think number one is that what Bernie really did is he legitimized the progressive movement in such a way that we haven't seen in the United States. And so with that legitimacy, I'll be able to go into the House and fight even harder to bring the Democratic Party over to the left. I know that we have a lot of very progressive individuals running for office for the first time, and they likely will get elected. And so I'm going to be forming coalitions with these individuals to help move these progressive agendas forward. But that's just the start, because we have so much work to do here in Colorado, particularly with our Democratic Party, that we have to start moving people over to the left and start moving on progressive values. So this is just a start. I imagine that we're going to continue this movement into 2018 and beyond. But I'm telling you, this was really historic. And as you may know, and I interviewed with you guys back in March, I believe, or February or March. Mm-hmm. As you know, we killed it here for Bernie. I mean, just absolutely knocked it out of the park for Bernie Sanders. By the time we got to state convention, he had won the state 65% to 35%. And so it resonates here in the state of Colorado what his message has been.
Oh, absolutely. But, and part of that message is money in politics. And just to lay out for our audience, you're going up against $12 to $13 million in oil and gas money that's out there to defeat you. How can our viewers get involved and help you out?
Donations are always appreciated. We had people donate off of Bernie Sanders' letter when he endorsed me. We had people donate, and it ended up being an average of $5, and I was able to raise $55,000 in one
Wow.
day. It set a record here in the state of Colorado, and over the course of the past nearly 2 months, it's raised over $100,000. Now, I don't know if oil and gas is going to use all that money that they saved up for ballot initiative 75 and 78 against me. I imagine that they're going to be using hundreds of thousands of dollars of it. I don't accept money from the big banks. I don't accept money from oil and gas, big corporations. I don't do any of that. This is all a people-driven campaign. And so if people can help me out, I would greatly appreciate that. We're moving this agenda forward for progressive values for the people.
And where can they go, Joe, to donate to you?
So you could go to my website. It's salazar4hd31.com. There's a donate button, or you can always go to Act Blue and look me up, Joe Salazar, and it'll connect you right there, and then you can make some donations. I really appreciate it, though.
Hey, definitely. So if you're out there, TYT audience, this man needs some help. Now, Joe, let's say you're in charge, you can get anything you want passed. What are you going to fix in the state of Colorado?
Wow, yeah, that's a big question because I have a heavy agenda.
Hey, let's hear the whole agenda. Let's say right now, boom, Emperor of Colorado, everything you say gets passed. What's it going to be?
Yeah, local control for municipalities on oil and gas issues. We need to have localities be able to determine exactly how oil and gas operations are going to operate, or if they don't want them to operate in the state. We need those localities to have that power to do that. Right now, it's considered a statewide interest, so it trumps anything that localities want to do. The other thing that I'm looking to do is address the issue of police and community trust. That's going to start with district attorneys, start pulling back on their discretionary power, as well as start outfitting police officers with cameras, and start developing really good rules around those cameras. The other thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to say it, even though I didn't want this to really be too public, but I'm going to say it, is that I'm going to start looking at crafting legislation around growing industrial hemp, and allowing universities to do their research, both economic research as well as their scientific research on hemp, to try to raise funds to bring down the higher educational tuition rates. It's something that I'm working on right now. We have to make sure that it's legal with the federal law and marrying it with state law. But that's one of the things I'm trying to do in order to reduce tuition costs here in the state of Colorado. It's a pretty big agenda item, and so I'll be moving forward on that. I'm going to be bringing back all my bills for the American Indian community. Those bills that have not passed, because every single day that I'm here, I'm going to be fighting for the community in the state of Colorado. So that's some of the agenda items, and I'm pretty proud of them.
Can we talk a little bit about the Native American community? Because I think a lot of Americans don't really understand that these are actual nations that we have treaties with and that we have obligations with.
Yeah, that's right. Not only am I a civil rights attorney, but I also work an awful lot with federal Indian law, and so when we take a look at the history of tribes in the United States, that guardian trust relationship, whatever you want to call it, we just know that there's been a violation of treaty rights and of human rights of the American Indian community. And so right now, as we start moving more towards the left, there's a gravity there of change, and we need to seize on that gravity in order to rectify the inequities of the past. And so that's why I'm moving as hard as I am on these bills for the American Indian community. We need to give them in-state tuition for those tribes that have historic ties to the state of Colorado. They were forcibly removed, and their students can't even come to the state and pay in-state tuition. We need to get rid of offensive American Indian mascots, and we need to change Columbus Day all the way around. And so, there's a lot more that goes to it, but those are the three main bills that the American Indian community has asked me to run.
I got to say, I'm in complete agreement with this. I think the behavior of the United States towards the Native American community and Indian country in general has been abysmal from really from the founding. Well, listen, Joe, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Is there anything else we can get out there to the audience before we let you get on with your evening tonight?
Yeah, you know what? I want people to really pay attention to the state of Colorado. Some amazing things are happening out here. We've been charging we've been charging full steam ahead since 2013 when I got elected. That was the year that we had the largest number of African Americans and Latinos elected to the state General Assembly. And we've been charging really, really hard, because what we've been saying is that it doesn't matter the numbers that you have, it matters what you do with your numbers. And so we've been doing some amazing things, community and police trust packages these past 2 years, reversing the anti-immigration trend here in the state of Colorado. Watch Colorado, because we're doing some really amazing things. And I have to give a shout out to my homeboy, Rudy Gonzalez with Servicios de la Raza, also a progressive organization that's moving ahead here in the state, and also to Representative Javon Melton, who's my co-founding member of the Doghouse Stems.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Joe. I wish you good luck. I hope when you win, you come back and talk to us next year, especially if you need some help in Colorado and to put some pressure on other people to move us forward in this country.
Thank you. I love you guys.
Hey, pleasure, my man.